Hi, good evening. My name's Jason Debley, and tonight's whiskey review is a Canadian whiskey, Canadian Club 20-year-old. Right here. I reviewed it 3 years ago in 2016. I also reviewed it on my website, my non-profit blog, where I review whiskeys that are not supplied by industry. And when I reviewed it like 10, 11 years ago, I wasn't too kind to Canadian Club 20-year-old. When I reviewed it 3 years ago, I was praising it. And there's a reason for that. And 10, 11 years ago, I did not understand the difference between Canadian whiskey and Scotch whiskey. And what I mean is that when you go into different categories of whiskey, there's certain conventions of flavor, and it's unfair to compare a Scotch whiskey to Canadian whiskey because they employ different grains, different methods of production, and resulting in a different spirit. You can personally prefer Scotch over Canadian or vice versa, but when you start saying one category is better than the other, it is a personal preference. It's kind of a sticky area, but I made the mistake 12 years ago of really kind of poo-pooing Canadian whiskey. And I'm a Canadian, so I guess I can do that if I want. But I think it was a bit of a mistake because Scotch whiskey provides a very broad flavor profile. Canadian whiskey, it's more narrow, not in a bad way, but in a different way. So I was at the liquor store recently, saw this bottle, forgot that I reviewed it 3 years ago because I got about 80 or 90 whiskey reviews up, and I thought, you know, Canadian Club 20-year-old is a good whiskey and we need to revisit it. On the nose, it's copper, it's sweet rye, good oak. It's pleasant. There's nothing offensive here. On the palate, mouth-filling, sweet. You definitely get that rye. The grains are well integrated. It's balanced. There's nothing offensive here. There's actually some malted barley in the mash bill, I do believe. It's very hard to get information on this particular mash bill. The owners don't really talk to me. A friend of mine who does talk to the owners tells me that the standard Canadian Club, which is aged for about 6 years, and I don't think it has an age statement on it, is obviously designed more for mix, but it's the same spirit as this, except this has been in the barrel for 20 years. I can't tell you a lot about the wood management. Definitely some oak, aging in oak. It is not peated for those who are not familiar with Canadian whiskey. The finish. Medium length. It lingers, not too long. It's not short though. You're getting that rye, the toffee and caramel and creme brulee on the palate disappear, the sweetness goes away, and you're left with dry, dusty rye. It's a good drop. It's about $55 in Canada. Unfortunately, not available in the United States. I don't understand what it is about the Canadian whiskey industry. Well, actually, I do understand. It's more profitable to sell the cheap stuff, Seagram 7 or whatever, for blends or for cocktails. In the United States is the biggest market for Canadian whiskey. Unfortunately, what gets shipped to them is usually not the best of Canada. Canadian Club 20-year-old is one of the best of Canada, I think. It's 40% alcohol by volume, which may be a disappointment for some people. Yes, there's artificial color in E150A. And it's chill filtered, but you know, it's a good drink. If you like Canadian whiskey and you want a bit of complexity and power, but no bite, Canadian Club 20-year-old is the way to go. Thank you for tuning in. Take care.